We are getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Some puzzling new developments tonight in the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie.
There was a moment in the Nancy Guthrie case that didn't just raise questions, it quietly changed everything. Not later, not after days of speculation, but right at the beginning. February 1st, 2026. Tucson, Arizona. Catalina Foothills. At exactly 1:47 a.m., the security camera at Nancy Guthrie's front door didn't glitch or lose power. It was deliberately disconnected. That detail matters more than it seems. Cameras fail all the time. But they don't unplug themselves. Someone made a choice in that moment. Someone decided that what was about to happen shouldn't be seen. Nancy Guthrie was 84. She lived alone in a quiet neighborhood where routines rarely shifted. On January 31st, her day followed that same pattern. Dinner with family. Home before 10 p.m. Nothing unusual. No sign of urgency, no hint of danger. And then, just hours later, everything changed. After the camera went dark, there's a gap. No footage, no visuals. But not silence. At 2:12 a.m., a motion sensor on the property was triggered. No image, just movement. Then at 2:28 a.m., her pacemaker, connected to her phone, lost signal completely. That was the last confirmed trace of her. Later that morning, when she didn't show up for church, concern started building. By midday, family members went to her house. What they found shifted the case immediately. Blood on the front porch. Confirmed to be hers. Inside, everything was still there. Her phone. Her belongings. Nothing suggested she left willingly. That single detail told investigators something critical. This wasn't a disappearance. It was an abduction. But even then, something didn't add up. Because when investigators began reconstructing the timeline, one thing stood out. Control. Think about it. Someone approaches a home in the middle of the night, disables a camera, moves through the property, encounters the victim, and leaves without immediate detection. No witnesses. No alarms. No chaos. That's not typical. Real-world crimes are messy. People hesitate. They make mistakes early. But here, the sequence was precise. And precision suggests familiarity. A stranger guesses. They hesitate. They misjudge. But this person didn't. They moved with purpose. Which raised a difficult question. Was this random, or was Nancy specifically targeted? Because if it was targeted, then it didn't start at 2 a.m. It started days, maybe weeks earlier. Watching. Learning. Understanding routines. Investigators began looking backward, not forward. They checked older footage. Nearby cameras. Patterns in the days before. Because behavior leaves traces, even when people think it doesn't. And then there was the camera itself. The suspect didn't avoid it. They approached it directly. That's unusual. Most people try to stay out of frame. This person stepped into it, then disabled it. That shows confidence. Maybe too much. Because even though the camera was disconnected, fragments of data were recovered. Not everything, but enough to confirm presence. And once that happened, the case expanded. Not just the house, but the entire neighborhood. Doorbell cameras. Street footage. Small pieces of movement. Individually meaningless. Together, a path. And that path began to narrow. Investigators shifted again, this time toward digital traces. Because even if someone avoids cameras, they rarely avoid signals. Phones connect. Devices ping. Networks log activity. At 2 a.m., in a quiet neighborhood, digital activity is predictable. Devices are stationary. Patterns are stable. But that night, something didn't fit. Unfamiliar signals appeared. Devices that didn't belong. Connections that showed up once and disappeared. That's how the field shrinks. Not by finding everything, but by removing what doesn't belong. Now combine that with behavior. The footage showed no panic. No hesitation. The person moved calmly. Controlled. Even when interacting with the camera, they didn't destroy it immediately. They covered it. Adjusted it. That suggests they believed they still had time. That the plan was working. But then there's the blood. That changes everything. Because blood isn't controlled. It's the result of something going wrong. If the plan had worked perfectly, there would be no visible trace outside. But there was. Which means something disrupted the sequence. And investigators narrowed it down to 3 possibilities. Resistance. Interruption. Or recognition. Recognition is the most dangerous. Because if Nancy recognized the person standing at her door, anonymity disappears instantly. The situation becomes unstable. And unstable situations escalate fast. That could explain the shift. From control to reaction. From planning to instinct. And instinct leaves mistakes. Now consider the exit. Leaving is harder than entering. Plans break under pressure. Movement becomes rushed. Decisions become reactive. And even without witnesses, the environment records something. Roads. Intersections. Passing cameras. Not a full picture, but direction. That's where cases often turn. From broad uncertainty to focused alignment. Because once movement, behavior, and timing begin to match, the question changes. It's no longer what happened. It becomes who fits this pattern. And that's when the investigation becomes personal. Because once randomness is removed, what remains is intent. And intent always connects to motive. By this stage, investigators had already reached a quiet conclusion. This wasn't random. It was planned. Structured. Targeted. Which means access mattered. Who knew her routine? Who understood the property? Who could approach without raising suspicion? That's when the circle gets smaller. Not distant strangers. Not unknown figures. People within reach. People with proximity. And then, something shifted again. Because the focus turned toward someone who fit that pattern too well. Tommaso. Her son-in-law. At first, there was nothing obvious. No direct accusation. No immediate evidence tying him publicly. But as timelines were reconstructed and behaviors analyzed, connections started aligning. Access. Familiarity. Presence within the broader environment. And then, under pressure, something changed. Because pressure builds in cases like this. Quietly, steadily. As evidence narrows and possibilities shrink. Eventually, something gives. According to emerging details, Tommaso didn't just remain silent. He broke. And when he did, the narrative changed completely. Because this wasn't about chance. It wasn't a random act or a moment of opportunity. It was motive. A reason that had been building long before that night. One that turned planning into action. And suddenly, the timeline made sense. The camera. The confidence. The approach. The disruption. All of it connected. But even now, one part remains just out of reach. Because understanding what happened is only part of the story. The real question is why? Why her? Why that night? Why that moment? And as this case continues to tighten, that final answer is getting closer. Not louder. Not obvious. But closer.